right, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. Get this party started. I'm going to start off with an attendance. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for your time and for being here. Chris.
Here.
Mary.
Here.
Michael Falsetti.
Here.
Counselor Sullivan.
Here.
Sarah.
Here.
Helene.
Here. I have a bug, so I'm staying off camera tonight.
Thank you, Helene. Thanks for still making it for us. We appreciate that. And then Jay here. 7. So we're missing Maribel and one other person, right?
I think it would be from planning.
Yes, and Rosanna. That's right. So hopefully they can make it. Okay. All right. So first item on our agenda is just to review and approve the minutes from our February meeting. We did not meet in March. Did everybody have an opportunity to review, or was there any questions or concerns there?
No, everything looks good to me.
Yep, I thought it was very thorough as usual. Mary, we appreciate your good work on that for us. I'd entertain a motion to approve those meeting minutes.
Make a
So
motion.
moved.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Just going to take a roll call vote. Chris?
Yes.
Mary?
Yep.
Michael Falsetti?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Helene?
Yes.
And Jay, yes. Okay, so those are approved. Our second item is just to go over our available funding for this funding cycle. There's a kind of a lot of moving parts, so I just wanted to go over it quick with folks. Naomi, would you be able to bring up that graphic for us so we can take a look?
Yeah, you have to turn on sharing though.
Oh, yes. Sorry about that.
I just noticed now.
I'll make you co-host. How about that?
Thank you. Okay, perfect.
That should do it, right? I usually do, but I forgot. Okay.
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 Guys see that?
Yes. Perfect. So just in review, our budget, it starts off 919,112, and that's two places. We had a carryover balance from last year, 108,764, and then our local surcharge plus state match for this fiscal year was 810,348. So those two combined 919,112, which is a number that I typed into my calculator a number of times throughout the last few months. And then we're going to be holding back some of those funds, and I'll go over that. We did not receive any affordable housing applications this year. So by state law, we need to withhold 10% of our budget from this fiscal year. So that was 81,035. So we're going to subtract that. If you remember, we didn't actually meet our 10% threshold last year on the affordable housing. We only had the one tiny house application. So we had a carryover of 19,614 that we need to again carry over into next fiscal year. And that's will be specific to affordable housing. Our admin budget, 40,517. Just for the public record, we're operating at a little bit over half of that at this point. We've been very thrifty with our admin funds. It's almost exclusively salaries. Just Naomi doing a great job for us, and then Amanda, who does a lot of our fiscal stuff. And then we had our small grants budget of $15,000. We do have a couple applications that we'll be able to bring forward next meeting and review. At least one of which will need some historical review. So Chris, we'll have to send you that information and start those conversations, because I'd love to be able to act on that before the fiscal year is up, because that is kind of a time limited thing. So we'll get you that information as soon as we can this week.
Okay.
And that leaves us with an available balance of 762,946. Per the state law, 10% minimum needs to be spent of the total amount in all the categories. So that means we need to hit at least 81,035 in both the open space / recreation and historical categories. And it does exceed our total requests for this fiscal year. Did anybody have any questions or concerns there? I know it can be there's a lot of moving parts, but I felt good about those numbers. We were pretty thorough on it. Counselor Sullivan?
Yeah, a couple of questions, Jay, for you and the committee. Number one, when I leave, will you still have a quorum?
Yes, we will. Yep.
Okay, so regarding the budget and the carryovers, one thing, I'm doing this now because in case I have to leave or when I do leave. Number one, on the admin budget, one of the things I'd like to suggest to the committee going forward is that maybe some of that be used for a grant writer, all right, especially for historic grants, to see what other monies we can bring in. I don't know if that's an allowable use or not, but we've had a lot of information come forward lately about the condition of City Hall and the needs of City Hall. And from a historic perspective, I think it's the crown jewel of Holyoke. And just as a nutshell idea here, just one electrical panel in this building is going to cost $177,000 to replace. I took a look around at the rest of the wiring, not even associated with this paneling, and this place is an absolute disaster waiting to happen. Not to mention the mortar, the stairs, murals, everything else. The initial from just the short review we did was over $1 million. And I can tell you, once they get into it, it's going to run up in the neighborhood of $10 million. And I don't know if Chris wants to weigh in on this, but from a historic perspective, this is the most iconic building in the city. So just something for the committee to consider there.
No, I appreciate that, Mike. Helene?
Yeah, I guess I just don't that really feels out of our purview because programs and projects come to us and then we review them and we decide if we can go forward. And I think the city of Holyoke absolutely that makes sense to invest in someone who can write grants to bring in more historic like outside funding sources. Sorry, I'm not feeling great.
So,
And and certainly like one trend with this just overall group is like there's definitely feels like less outside funding in these proposals than in past years, which is a little concerning. But I would really have difficulty if we were writing grants and providing that level of support and then turning around and being the ones to like assess whether we're gonna fund that program. It feels like a conflict. And I mean, the city has submitted their project for this this cycle, and so we're gonna vote on that and whether to fund that. And I would love to have more funding supporting those projects coming for City Hall, but I don't see that as our role, and I think it could be really complicated. And I also know that the admin does so much with so little already. Like I can't imagine us functioning if that amount were reduced. So those are my concerns.
No, I appreciate that. And I would just say this if I could. Perhaps I think this would be a good conversation for us to have at a future meeting. I think Naomi and I can do a little bit of due diligence on the nuts and bolts of such a thing. And then we can allot some time and have a conversation with a little bit more information in front of us And that would kind of, I think that'll be a more productive use of our time and allow us to move forward today if folks are comfortable with that. I did see Mike and Sarah's hands up as well.
Yeah, I'm happy to kind of discuss it in another conversation as well. But I guess all I was going to suggest is kind of like we did with the small grants program. Is there a way to use any remaining admin budget we have to do a small grant program for support for someone who might be looking to apply for us for a project, but might also be looking to apply for other grants?
Yeah, I mean, potentially, I think we'd want to bounce that off the state coalition and sort of get some contacts and some feedback from them on that, and kind of go from there if we could. Mike Falsetti and then Councilor Sullivan.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with what's been spoken. I don't think we have the legislative or legal authority to write any grants for ourselves. Our function is to discuss and judge and vote on proposals that are brought to us. For us to originate the proposals, I think is, quite frankly, maybe illegal. I can't read of the readings are done on the act itself passed by the legislature. They never mention that. Our job is to evaluate and vote, not to propose. Mike, I would say contact the DPW and ask them to write a proposal to us, and we'd be happy to look at it. But for us to generate the act itself, I think it's illegal, and it's not really our role as the Citizens Advisory Committee to propose projects we write ourselves and then vote on it. I would just call the DPW chairman and ask for those guys to take part in it. And as an aside, Mike, if you want me to, I've retrofitted electrical panels most of my electrical life, and I'll do a walkthrough with you if you want, whenever you get a free moment. That's an aside.
Yeah, so nobody misunderstood me. I only used the city hall as an example, all right? And my suggestion isn't that we initiate projects, all right? But that we find ways of funding each one of our different pools through a grant writer. Is there a way that we can just bring more money into our CPA budget to make it available besides what we get from the CPA surcharge every year? Is there just to put the money into the funds, not to initiate the projects, but to make more available for the people that come with projects?
Yeah, and I can touch base with Stuart from the coalition, and we can, like I said, I'll put it on the agenda next meeting, and we can have maybe a more detailed conversation about it then, if that would be acceptable for folks. Were there any other questions or comments related to the budget for this fiscal year? I did my best to make it clear. It was a little bit, like I said, a lot of moving parts on it, but the long and short of it is we have 762, 946 available for our projects this year. All right. So I'm going to move forward. I don't think we need to take a vote on that. We were just reviewing it. So agenda item number 3 is our funding recommendations. So just to go over the process, everybody voted. Every committee member voted on using our scoring rubric on these projects, and we have them scored 1 through 6. I appreciate everybody taking the time to do that. Every single person on our committee was able to get a submission in, and so we're going to take those projects up in order of how they were scored. We do have, like I said before, we do have more funding available than we do project requests this year. We did have a number of projects that dropped out for various reasons. So, the order isn't as significant this year, but, that's still the way we're going to move forward with it. So, if there aren't any other questions or comments, our highest scored project is the Scott Tower project, Anniversary Hill Park improvements. And I'm just going to read the project description. Phase 2 of Anniversary Hill Park improvements, focused on the restoration of Scott Tower and adjacent landscaping, including capping the tower base, replacement of interior steps, and repointing and remortaring wall masonry. The request is for $200,000. Under discussion. Sarah.
I mean, I don't have much to say except that it is an excellent project. Seems to be very long awaited by the people of Holyoke. I certainly would want to fund that one in full.
Appreciate that. Any other questions or comments? Michael Falsetti.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I agree with Sarah. It's truly, while City Hall is an iconic structure in the city, certainly Scott's Tower ranks a close second. It stands unique, and it is in so need of repair that it would be great to see it brought back to life and have a new life, actually. So I agree with Sarah. I'd vote for it in a heartbeat. It's well worth it.
Yep. Counselor Sullivan.
Yeah, I'm all for it before it turns into another Leaning Tower of pizza.
Yeah.
Not pizza.
Absolutely. Any other questions or comments? All right. I'll add a couple of things. This is my favorite project. Great project. I think, being on the CPA for a little bit, when you go around the city, people, that this is a thing people say to me, what's up with Scott's Tower? What's up with Scott's Tower? It's a thing that people want, and I think we need to be cognizant of that, responsive to that. And I also will say that Yoni has been an outstanding partner for us. His level of professionalism, preparedness, responsiveness is outstanding. He's a very good partner for us. He does what he says he's going to do. And he brings in a lot of matching funds. We're very lucky to have Yoni working in our city. He's done some great work, and I'm excited to be able to continue to work with him. So I would say as in agreement with the other three folks who spoke. I think this is a great project. So I would entertain a motion, perhaps to fully fund this project. If anyone would be interested. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion made and seconded to recommend a $200,000 award to Scott Tower project. I'm going to take a roll call vote. Chris.
Yes.
Mary.
Yes.
Michael Falsetti.
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Helene.
Absolutely.
Yes, and Jay, yes. So by a vote of 7-0, we have allocated $200,000 to the Scott Tower project. I think that's outstanding. I think that's a very good project. All right. So. Okay. So with that, our available budget is now down to 562,946. Nice easy math for us. The second rated project, as rated by the committee members, is the City Hall granite stairs. I'm just going to read the outline of that. Completing a detailed conditions, repair and permitting assessment, and preparing bid drawings and cost estimates to serve as the basis for future permitting, bidding, and construction. So this is essentially to do the bid documents for and construction documents for the City Hall granite stairs. This is not to repair the stairs, it's to do the study before it. And just some added context, we did fund this in a prior cycle for somewhere right around $30,000. Once they got the bids back for the work, it ended up being $130,000. So this is a supplementary request. This will go along with our previous award and will allow Matt and his team to move forward on repairing those granite stairs. And the request is for, if I hadn't mentioned it, $100,000. Under discussion. Sarah.
I mean, I'll just kick it off by saying those stairs are a wreck, and as already has been stated, City Hall is the symbol for our city. Not only from the perspective of just ensuring that it stays that important symbol, but also from a safety perspective, and liability for the city of who's using those stairs. My recommendation is to fund that in full.
Thank you. Michael Falsetti.
And I agree wholeheartedly with everything that Sarah said. It needs it. It's got to be done. It's a matter not only of aesthetics, but it's a matter of safety. God forbid somebody, the firemen or police or an ambulance people have to use those steps. And should they fall, or should an elderly person like myself trip and fall, it's a lawyer's dream to take. So I couldn't agree more with Sarah. I'd vote. I think it's absolutely necessary. So I agree with Sarah.
Absolutely. Any other thoughts, questions, or comments? All right. I will just add, I would agree. I mean, I think, Councilor Sullivan said it at the beginning of the meeting. The city hall is, the heart of our city. It's something I'm proud of. I see other community city halls, and I'm almost judgmental because ours is so stunning, and I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's,
Yeah, you're
it's
right.
not as nice as ours, and it's our responsibility and our duty to keep it that way. So, I'm also very supportive of this, and I think Matt will advance this. Matt and Mira will advance this project well for us, and hopefully button it up. So I'd entertain a motion, perhaps to fully fund this study for this City Hall granite stairs. If anyone wanted to make a recommendation.
So moved.
I think Sarah already did.
That may be true, actually. So motion made and second to, motion made by Sarah, just for the minutes, and second by Chris, to fund the City Hall granite stairs study, for the full amount of $100,000. I'm going to take a roll call vote on that. Give me 1 second, please. All right. Chris.
Yes.
Mary.
Sorry, yes.
Thank you. Michael Falsetti.
Yes.
Councilor Sullivan.
Yes.
Sarah.
Yes.
Helene.
Yes.
And Jay, yes. So by a vote of 7-0, we've allocated $100,000 to the City Hall granite stairs study.
Okay, Jay, if I could interrupt for a minute.
Yes, sir.
I have to leave for the other meeting. Will you still have a quorum?
Yes, we will. And what I can do, Mike, is send you sort of a synopsis summary email once we complete the meeting, so you'll be completely up to date on how everything went. But yes, we do have a quorum. We will be sitting at 6, so we only need 5 for a meeting, so we'll be good to go.
Okay, and for the rest of the committee, my history over the years has been whatever the will of the committee, whatever the will of the committee is what I will be presenting to DGNR, is the will of the committee, not my own opinion.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Bye now.
Thanks so much, Mike.
Yeah, bye.
All right, so moving forward, so we're sitting, another easy math problem for me. We're sitting now at 462, 946. Okay, our next, our third highest rated project is the Holyoke Merry-Go-Round. The request is $31,960. So it's a little bit of a shorter outline. It's to restore 4 hand-painted 96-year-old horses. And this is familiar to us because we've done this before with other horses. So just again, it's for $31,960. Under discussion.
Give him 1 minute. Get another one done.
Michael and then Sarah.
No brainer. They do good work. It's necessary. It's another iconic Holyoke structure. And those guys God bless them. Talk about devotion to duty. They do a great job, and yeah, keep up the good work, guys. Yeah, I'm for it.
Sarah?
I agree with Michael wholeheartedly. I mean, that's really a central thing to our city. I'm not sure there's a single kid that has grown up in Holyoke that hasn't gone to the merry-go-round at least once.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I think an important point too is the merry-go-round operates with a very bare bones budget. They keep costs down. They're very community oriented. There's a lot of public events, and it's just it's an icon. I don't want to overuse the term. I just think it's fitting for the projects that we have this year. An iconic Holyoke location. You think of Holyoke, and that's one of the things that comes to mind, and it's something that we're all proud of, and that again is a part of our history, and that it is our responsibility and our duty, in my opinion, to maintain that for future folks. And I mean, I use it, and I've had birthday parties there. I'm there regularly. I love the place. So I think it's a home run, and they were great partners for us as well. They do their work, and they get things done quickly. And I think they're coming up on an anniversary too, that they're going to be celebrating. I believe next year is an anniversary year for them. So I know that they had mentioned that there'll be some extra attention. So I would entertain a motion to perhaps fully fund the merry-go-round if any committee members felt that that was a good idea.
So moved.
All right, motion made by Michael and seconded by Chris to fully fund the Holyoke merry-go-round at $31,960. That will be restoring 4 hand-painted 96-year-old horses. I'm going to take a roll call vote on that one. Chris?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan left. Sarah?
Yes.
Helene?
Yes.
And Jay, yes. So by a vote of 6-0, we have recommended that the city council support the Holyoke merry-go-round project. And this math is going to be a little bit trickier, so give me one moment. Okay. Okay, sorry, I cheated and used my calculator. I probably could have done the arithmetic, but we're in a public meeting and it's too much pressure. So that leaves us with a remaining balance of $430,986. And please feel free to check my math if anybody would like to. If there's any engineers in on the committee. So our next project is the Holyoke Health Center Child's Building. It's located at 275 High Street, which is the block right across the street from City Hall. Okay, sorry. Is my there we go.
There you go.
Sorry about that. The request is for $225,000, and I'm going to read the project description. It's the replacement of plywood covered windows at the Child's Building located at 275 High Street. Under discussions. Sarah?
Oh, go ahead.
So this project has me a little torn. On one hand, I think that, it's an excellent project overall. I think that, the people from Holyoke Health Center who presented really did their due diligence. I think that they're really going to, be able to pull that project together and do an excellent job. I'd love to see that area of High Street redeveloped, and obviously those windows boarded up are an eyesore, and this would make them very beautiful. I love the overall vision that Holyoke Health Center has presented. My main concern associated with this project is that this is kind of a prime area for hopeful economic development within the city of Holyoke, and Holyoke Health Center is a tax exempt entity, and they do not have a pilot agreement in place with the city of Holyoke. So, I do have some concerns associated with taking taxpayer money to fund a project that the city would not collect taxes on.
Absolutely. I saw Helene and then Michael. Welcome, Rosanna, as well.
So I have absolutely no problem with funding nonprofits. We have before. Would much rather honestly fund nonprofits that are giving to the city, not necessarily profiting off of the city. And Holyoke Health Center is providing a lot of comprehensive healthcare in a location with a lot of transit. And so it is just an unquestionable good to me. But in terms of this project, I think one thing that sort of swayed me was, even though the way it was kind of formulated, it was like we were doing we were paying for it all, but it's part of this much bigger project, which is, tons and tons of funds have come from all these different places. So I see this as us playing a part in this overall change. And, the plywood on the windows, people have clearly from reading the public comments, that's something people really feel a visceral reaction to because it's so close to City Hall. And so to make, that just like a more presentable, but it's not just that, there are all these other funds going to make rehab the whole building for it to be useful. And I will say, again, nonprofit workers who are there, they spend their money, they go to lunch, they get coffee. Like, there is absolutely economic development that comes from that. So I don't really want to bring the politics into it, but I really reject the idea that we shouldn't support nonprofits because they aren't providing an economic benefit to the city, because I just think that is not the case. And I think this project has, for what it is, the historic renovation is absolutely, historic preservation, not renovation. Like it really does fill that mission in a very highly visible location.
Thank you. Thank you, Helene. I have Michael and then Mary.
Mr. Chairman, I'm all for it. They did an excellent presentation, and I almost fell off my chair when they showed the before and after. What a boon that would be for that part of High Street. It was staggering what the difference will be when they go through with that. And as Helene pointed out, they're bringing in a lot more money and a lot more renovations to the inside of the building. And this is just one part of that equation. It's going to look magnificent. It's going to, and as it's stated before, it's right across the street from City Hall. I couldn't think of a better location for that kind of work than to dress up significantly the outside of that building. And for me, the icing on the cake was when they said they put a new roof on. That's not cheap. So that tells me they're not going anywhere. And they're investing a lot of their own capital with no assurance that this renovation of the front will go through. Well, for me, that sealed the deal. I'm all for it. And I hope, and I can't wait to see it go to fruition.
Mm-hmm. Mary.
So I'm just curious about something that Sarah said. I think she said something about that they are without a tax agreement So I'm in favor of this project for all of the reasons that have been stated. But I'd like to know more about that. And is that something that we have any part in resolving? So two questions. One, what is that resolution that was suggested? And two, do we have a part in that?
Sure. So a pilot is just a payment in lieu of taxes. It's an acronym. And so it's essentially, some uh, nonprofits that are tax exempt will enter into agreements, sometimes written and sometimes sort of, handshake or informal to subsidize what would otherwise be their tax bill if they were a private entity. And Holyoke Health Center does not have that agreement in place. We did ask about that at our when they presented, and they said that they hadn't had one yet, that they had had some discussion about it, but nothing was set in stone. And as far as our role in that, I mean, it's a bit hard to say. I mean, I think, it's not really our role directly to, decide such things, but I suppose we, in our consideration of whether or not to support certain projects, if we prioritize that or make that something that we think about in deciding to fund, I suppose in that sense, indirectly, we sort of can engage, but I don't know, certainly not directly. It's not, it would be, it's really more the purview of the mayor and, the executive branch. Um, yeah. Michael, did you have your hand up or?
Just to confirm, Mr. Chairman, what you said, this is clearly the only person that has to enter into these types of negotiations is the mayor's office. This committee has neither the legal or administrative authority to ask anybody about their taxes, whether they pay them or not, or where their pilot is. That's not our authority nor our purview. This is strictly under the purview of the mayor's office. That's it.
I wonder, I'll say this. I thought that it was a very strong presentation. I appreciated the thought that they put into it. I thought it was one of the better ones I've seen since I've been on the committee. Um, they do have a history. They did do that other building up around the corner on Maple and what's that street? Maple and is it Dwight? Maple and Dwight. Right. And it was a really big addition to the downtown. I think, when they updated that building, I think just aesthetically and the way it felt with an extra presence of people who work there and utilize that building, it really did give a boost to the downtown. I do understand Sarah's point though, in that, we would like to see, I think some more tax dollars coming in, but it's just a question of, for me, I think it is a strong, I think it is a strong application, and I think that I would probably be in support of it. I don't know if we'd want to have a discussion. I mean, they did ask for 225. I wonder if a reduced amount might be more appropriate. I don't know how folks feel about certain amounts. We've done that in the past, partially funded a project. I wonder if maybe funding it at 150 might be something that folks feel comfortable with, or if they feel strongly that we should do the full 225.
I'm very
Chris?
willing to go with what the rest of the committee, wants to do as well. I do think it's an excellent proposal. I just, like I said, in that specific area that seems kind of prime for economic development, it was just a concern.
Yep. No, absolutely. Chris?
I think I just have to agree with Helene. This is what we do with this commission. This is part of downtown, which desperately needs buildings, people. I'm in full support of it with the full amount.
Okay. Any other discussion on that topic? Would anyone?
Helene has her hand up.
Oh,
I do.
okay,
So
Helene.
Rosanna, I've already spoken. So Rosanna, why don't you go first and then I'll go?
Perfect. Thanks, Helene. Go ahead, Rosanna.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, everybody's lagging, so I don't know if you can hear me straight through. I'm kind of on Sarah's side. I think it's a good chunk of change. I do appreciate Holyoke Health Center being here and the things that they've done for the community. And downtown does look better. That building is amazing. It was like rolling and falling. But I am concerned with the amount. So I'm a little on the fence on funding it for the full amount. That's just my personal opinion. But I love the place. I love what they've done with here. I love that they employ a lot of our community. And not only do they employ our community, Holyoke Health Center is a place where like you can start working at the reception and they will literally help you move up and pay for your schooling, which I think that is amazing because a lot of employers don't do that.
Thank you, Rosanna. Helene?
I just wanted to again say I would be in support of the full amount. And part of that is just that they've really, I think, were strategic about carving out part of what they needed and asking us in a range that was doable for CPA and that really fit the historic guidelines. I mean, there's all sorts of things that can be done potentially, and they're making an effort to like really make these windows look really nice and historic and into the period, and providing that extra aesthetic benefit. But we're not funding anywhere near the majority of this project. Like so many different funding sources have come in, and so I'm very much someone that wants a lot of skin in the game and wants to see that projects are getting money from other sources. But I really do feel like as a full project, this one really has. And so we can kind of just fill this particular gap, which if we weren't, providing CPA funds, maybe they'd be done less historically relevantly. And that, would have its impact. Like the purpose of the historic funds is to maintain these main streets that are historic and beautiful. And so I'm in favor of the full amount. That's what I would vote for.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right. So, I mean, I've heard a couple of different things. I don't know if, Helene, if you would want to make a motion.
I'll just make a motion to support this project at the full amount.
Okay, we got a motion. Is there a second on that?
I'll
All right,
second.
we've got a motion made and seconded to support the Holyoke Health Center Child's Building windows for the full amount, which is $225,000. Motion made by Helene and seconded by Michael Falsetti. All right. So I'll do a roll call vote on that. Chris?
Yes.
Mary?
Yeah.
Michael?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Helene?
Yes.
Rosanna?
Yes, sir.
And Jay, yes. So by a vote of 7-0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-0, we have fully funded the Holyoke Health Center project. If you excuse me, I'm going to do a little bit more math. So that puts us at 205. All right. So our available funding after that is now 205,986. Our next highest rated project is the Wisteria Hearst Butler's Pantry. They actually tied.
Can I
Mary.
interrupt? Mary had her hand up. Yeah, okay.
Yep. Sorry, Mary.
There's one person on the screen that's not identified. So I was wondering if they could put their name in the, unless that's
Holyoke Media.
Media? Oh,
yeah,
it is.
that's Scott from Holyoke Media.
Okay,
so they just
sorry.
record. Yep.
Sorry.
Nope. No, that's always good to clarify. You've got the burden of the minutes, Mary. So don't apologize. We know you need that info sometime. So the Wisteria Hearst and Neighbor to Neighbor Community Garden actually tied in our committee rankings. So I did take a liberty as chair, and I bumped Wisteria Hearst up because they scored very slightly higher on the public survey. That was the tiebreaker that I used when I realized that they had tied. So I hope folks are comfortable with that. Like I said, we do have enough funding for all of our projects if need be, so it's not a tremendous advantage. But just to be clear, that's how we've gotten to that point. So the Wisteria Hearst Butler's Pantry request is for $65,000. And that is to repair and replacement of rotted, damaged flooring, cabinet restoration, and lighting. Under discussion. Sarah?
I mean, I guess I'll just say that, I think once again, this was, a good project. I appreciated that once it's complete, they kind of look to have, exhibits there that just kind of in addition to the existing museum. I'd be about funding it in full.
Wonderful. I saw Helene's hand next.
I agree with Sarah. I just love this idea. I love taking Wisteria Hearst and having the layers of the understanding more about the workers and the community that ran the house at the time. I just think it's a really thoughtful way to extend and help people, understand our history. So I really love that this came to us, and I'm just very excited about it and appreciate the work everyone at Wisteria House does. It's just such a great. I just don't know if there's other communities where you things like the care center that are using the fancy historic home in the city, right? Like it's just that kind of embedded in the community piece that is really, really cool. So I'm excited about this and would be very happy to fully fund it.
Wonderful. Any other questions or comments? I would agree. I mean, I know we get the senior center and the folks that utilize the senior center have been supportive of this. Wisteria Hearst has done a number of our projects. I think they were funded 5 years in a row. I think last year was the first time that we hadn't funded them. And it's a very reasonably priced project, and I think it's really interesting. I think Colleen touched on it. The Butler's Pantry is just a really cool throwback to to the workers of that mansion, or what do we call it, a museum, I suppose. And I also appreciate that they're very accessible to the community. They're available for for folks to utilize that space, and I think they've been working to to expand that. I know they had an Easter egg hunt. They do Halloween stuff. They've got I could go. Everybody knows. We're all engaged Hoyokers here. We all know what they do. So they're continuing to grow what they provide to the city, and I think this is a little bit of an addition that we can make for it. So I would agree. Would there be any motions on fully funding Wisteria Hearst?
So moved.
All right, motion made by Michael to fully fund Wisteria Hearst at $65,000. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion made by Michael and seconded by Helene to fully fund the Wisteria Hearst Butler's Pantry.
Oh, actually by Sarah.
Oh, by Sarah, I apologize.
I'm happy to third, but just for Mary's notes.
Okay. Perfect. So motion made by Michael and seconded by Sarah to fully fund Wisteria Hearst at $65,000 for the Butler's Pantry. I'm going to do a roll call vote. Chris?
I am going to abstain since I'm on the board.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Chris is abstaining. Thank you, Chris. Mary?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Helene?
Yes.
Rosanna?
Yes, sir.
And Jay, yes. So by a vote of 6-0, we have supported Wisteria Hearst's project. And Chris, we appreciate your work on Wisteria Hearst and this committee and the historical committee. It's I've made this point a number of times. There's a small group of people that do a lot of work in the city, so we appreciate you for that. Our last project that we have tonight is the neighbor to neighbor community garden. The request was for 50. Oh, let me do a little bit of math first. I apologize. 1 second. Should be an easy one. 1, 5. So we have $150,986 remaining. The neighbor to neighbor community garden, the request is for $50,000. And the project description is infrastructure improvements to the existing community garden, including adding fruit trees, constructing new raised beds, moving the border fence, alleyway improvements, and installation of a kiosk and new electrical outlets. Under discussion. Mary, and then Michael.
Okay, so you have just read the description, but initially it included the word salary.
Mhm.
Is that gone from the description? No. Okay, so then that is my comment. I'm totally in favor of this project, but especially as you just described it, but the word salary and providing salaries is not our purview. We have many times given money that was used to, by the applicant to manage employment of people to do the work. But the business of a salary has a different meaning, and it really puts us in a different category for responsibility. So if we do pass this, I would like to have it conditioned that it does not go to salaries, but that it could go to, I don't know, the
Project management.
management. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's just the project description itself didn't have the word salary in it, but their proposal and their budget did. So just whatever nuance that is. But Mary's point is that she feels that that we should be clear that any funding for salaries, or I don't want to use the word salaries, is for project management. Anything that's not going directly to materials for the project would be for managing that project. And I think that's a great point. I saw Michael's hand next and then Sarah.
I think Sarah, Mr. Chairman, I think Sarah was before me, but.
Oh, thank you.
Sarah,
Okay,
go ahead.
we'll go Sarah first and then Michael. Sarah. Thank you, Michael.
I mean, really, my big question is just to clarify, because it kind of looked like what they were proposing for the salary was an existing staff member who is managing volunteers, who's teaching, who's overseeing all of that. I guess I just want to make sure when we clarify the project management, I mean, can it still cover that employee that is doing that, knowing that that's, kind of entirely, I guess, how does that work with what they're proposing, and are we placing any kind of restrictions on them?
Yeah, I think what we could do is just make that crystal clear in our contract, and that that we would support the work directly related to the projects, but
Yes.
that we do not support other uses of the salary. And I know that we did have some discussion, and I know that I sent that information out. We got some guidance from the state coalition on this topic, and unfortunately, or maybe you might say fortunately, it's really up to us what we want to do. The state law is a bit vague, probably intentionally so, on this topic. The guidance was that they don't recommend that we fund stuff like salary, but that we try to keep it within direct cost, which I think project management is something that we do fund. I mean, Jones Point has project management, a number of different things that we do have that as part of their request. So I think what we could really do is just if we wanted to support this project, is that we could just be very, very specific and detailed in our contracts. Um, that's what we're willing to pay for, that we're not gonna disperse funding outside of those parameters. And that's something that we've done in the past, and we can discuss specific language at our we will have a specific meeting to go over contract language. And I can also in not to be presumptive, but if we do support this project between now and our next meeting, also bounce that off the city solicitor and have her, perhaps she would have some recommended language or just some, some way to make sure that we're covered there. Because I think in general, we all do support the project, but I think we all, and I share this concern, is that we don't really fund programs. We don't. We don't fund programs. We fund projects. And, we support, if neighbor to neighbor is going to be thrifty and really utilize the community to get these projects done, I think that's a good thing. But I think we want to make sure we're not wading into the gray area here. I think we want to be very clear that we support direct costs to this project and not programming. And I think that's sort of a nuance that's important. And would you say that kind of encapsulates our feeling on that, Mary? And
I
know
agree.
we've all talked about it. I think that's kind of, they're not hiring Ty and Bond to manage the project. They're sort of doing it themselves, and they're saving a bunch of money because that, can get expensive, and I think that's a good thing. I don't think we should be penalizing them for that. But I think Sarah made that point at a prior meeting. But, we really shouldn't be, um, getting too far outside that boundary. So, if folks are comfortable, I think we can improve, or if somebody wants to make a motion of moving forward with that, with that in mind, that will be, something that will be in the contract language, and that we'll be very clear with neighbor to neighbor on that. And we've spoke with them, and they were supportive of that as well. So,
It
Michael.
strikes me. Oh, sorry.
Oops. No, I'm sorry, Sarah, please.
No, I was just going to say it strikes me that we'd be able to manage that, kind of just thinking through the logistics of how we'd ensure that, any time from, an otherwise employee that's, paid that is specifically directly related to, specifically that project. I'm sure we could add something in the contract as far as like reporting hours spent each week or something like that in order to ensure those payments are okay. So, okay.
Absolutely. Michael.
Well, I agree with everything that's been said because I like the project, but I'm dead set against paying a salary out of our pocket.
Yep.
It sets a dangerous precedent because we're in the future. Why everybody, for example, the Friends of City Hall, they were the first advocates under Mayor Saskovich that began talking about the stained glass windows at City Hall. It wasn't for our committee that the thing got it done. It was from us. What do you think we should pay those people? How many years have they been advocating for City Hall? The Friends of the merry-go-round, those poor souls, they've been there since the 90s. How much you want to pay them? They didn't, it's all volunteer. The spirit of volunteerism is what drives these and drives much of these projects. When you start to pay people, next year we could have 5 more projects that say, I only want 15 grand. But it's my you paid them 20. I'll do something for 15. Why are you refusing me when you let them have that 20? So I agree with everything you've said. Stay away from salaries, absolutely. And I would vote against this project if it involves paying anybody anything. Salaries don't belong here. And like I said, what about the Friends of City Hall, the Friends of the merry-go-round, and other spontaneous groups, if you will, that have been laboring quietly like saints in the shadows and don't get a dime or any recommendations or any applauses. They just offered for the good of the city. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm dead set against it if it includes money for salaries. We're setting a dangerous precedent that will come back to haunt us.
Yep. No, it's a slippery slope, I think. So I think we just want to be very clear on that. And, I would just suggest I think we should add to our, the project description, the current, I'm going to reread it. The current description is infrastructure improvements to the existing community garden, including adding fruit trees, constructing new raised beds, moving the border fence, alleyway improvements, and installation of a kiosk and new electrical outlets, and any direct project management for achieving those project goals. And I think anything outside of that is not something we're going to be, and we'll legally clarify that and make that crystal clear at our contract meeting. If folks feel comfortable with that, it's interesting how we all kind of came to the same point here. It really is. So it seems like we're in full agreement. Is there any other further discussion on this project?
No.
I'll just add, I think it's, I think it's a great project. I like the directness of it. They're growing fruit trees and and folks in our community are gonna have access to that. There's direct benefit here. It's not, it's not raising the tax base or just doing these other kind of more indirect things. So I think it's a good project, and I think it's when you go down that area to that neighborhood, it really starting to stand out as a little gem there. You notice it. There's some action there. There are people there. It's maintained. It's clean. It looks cool. They've done a nice job. So I think I think it's something that our committee should support, and I would entertain a motion to fully fund that project if anyone would want to make that.
Motion.
Motion made by Mary, seconded by Chris. To fund the neighbor to neighbor community garden in the amount of $50,000. And before we take our vote,
with the description you gave.
With the description I gave, and then with also the caveat that I will check in with the city solicitor about contract language, and we'll discuss that and make sure that we're clean on that because, like I said, every single one of us agrees, I think, on what needs to be done here. So I'm going to take a roll call vote. Chris?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Michael?
No, Mr. Chairman, and the reason is this is a dangerous slope until and unless I see our attorney, the city attorney, write it explicitly and I see it in writing, then I'll approve it. But right now, this is far more dangerous than it appears. We're setting a bad precedent and it could come back to haunt us if it's not done correctly. That's why it's no for now. But if if our city attorney writes it correctly and I agree with it, then I'll say absolutely. But
Yeah.
this is a dangerous precedent we're setting here. So no, I'm saying no, I don't want to vote for it.
Okay. Sarah?
Michael,
Yes.
can you explain to me exactly what is it that you want in writing? Is it the employment part that you want in writing by our lawyers? It's Rosanna speaking. Sorry, I know there's so many faces. So I'm just a little confused. What exactly is it that you need from our lawyers in order for you to support this?
Well, Roseanne, this is, Jay being the chairman would be the point person on this, but they clearly state in their budget, the 66,580 for payroll and so on and so forth, 20,000 of which is coming out of our wallets. CPA is going to come up with. I don't want any part of that. We should not be paying people to do the work that other people do for free. And what bothers me more than anything, we're setting a precedent that we're now paying people to do things that, again, as an example, the Friends of City Hall, the Friends of the merry-go-round, they've been laboring for years and for nothing. And to pay people now is a bad deal. So I want it completely removed as a line item. That $20,000, I don't want to see it. And the only way
I understand now. I thought Mary clarified that as long as it didn't have to do with salary, that we were good.
And I agree.
You actually want to make sure that it's in writing for clarity.
I like to see it in writing from the lawyer to make sure it's done correctly, because this could come back to haunt us, and every committee person that comes after us could be haunted by this. So that's what's got me afraid of this. So I'm going to vote no. That's why.
Yeah, no, that's completely makes sense. Sarah?
Yes.
Helene?
Yes. And I just wanted to say, I mean, I think this is to me more of a semantics issue, and so I would be, hopefully that can be resolved. But every project we have has some labor costs towards the project. Um, you know, putting those windows in, people are going to get paid to do that, right? Like it's just, people that work at the city, like we don't have a Parks and Rec thing now, but some of it, it just we take some um labor from folks to do a lot of these projects. The people like we're paying towards getting the horses done. Like people are paying for their time, and so I think what I get CPA wants, and for better or for worse, like I'm like this is a lawyer's analysis, not really like my own personal view. Because I would love CPA to be more flexible, but they don't want us to like have a standing person being funded every year, that we fund this position in this organization or whatever. And that's totally fine, but it seems like this is very much directly related to the work and time the person's going to put in to getting this done. And I see that as a semantic issue about how you label it, but less as directly, as much more like the person who's getting paid to put windows in. It's a job, there's a certain skill, it's to finish the project. I think, we want to absolutely stay on the right side of the law. And so I'm 100% in favor of what Jay has proposed in terms of how to approach it. And I appreciate Mary's diligence, and I appreciate Michael's raising the concern. But for me, I think, in the spirit of it, it is appropriate, and it is not about sort of paying people while we don't pay others, because we are paying for a lot of labor in these projects. There's a lot of volunteerism too, and Neighbor to Neighbor does organize like a ton of like that's their whole thing, is getting people involved. Most of the people working on the community garden are volunteers. Anyway, so those are my 80 million cents, but I'm going to say yes.
Thank you so much. Rosanna?
Yes, sir.
And Jay, yes. So by a vote of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 1, we've approved the neighbor to neighbor. And, I think Michael, just not to be presumptive, but I think Michael was in support, but he's just taking a more conservative approach and just wants to make sure that language reflects the conversation that we have. And I think that makes sense. And I'll reach out to the solicitor as soon as I can, and I'll share those communications with you, Michael, because I think I agree wholeheartedly that we want to be careful of this, and that there is risk in setting a precedent if we're sloppy here. So we just want to make sure we're clean. I think that we will be, but I think it was a very healthy discussion, and I appreciate that that everybody dug in on that. So that actually concludes our funding vote. Just an update is the Nick's Nest project is still sitting. It is not currently eligible. The historical commission would need to deem it a historic artifact in order for it to be eligible for CPA funding. I know Chris has a couple of new members coming, at least 2. How do you know how many, Chris, that you need for a quorum?
I thought it was at least 4.
Do you need at least 4? Yeah, so it may be a little bit. I know, Chris and I know the mayor are working on trying to fill out that committee. And then once they're able to meet, they can make that determination of whether or not the bandbox is in fact a historic artifact in the city. And we can have that discussion down the road. But just so you know that we won't be able to vote on that tonight, but that it's still kind of in limbo at this moment. So appreciate that. So moving forward on the agenda is just a discussion of a joint meeting between the CPA and the Historic Commission. So we just wanted to, and Chris had requested this, and I would agree that we just want to really clarify how our committees interact. I think, with the historic commission not being able to meet, we sort of forged ahead, and perhaps the historic commission felt left out a little bit. And certainly that's not our goal here. I think, my perspective personally is that we want as much involvement as possible, from all of our committees, but especially historic, because they just, they're particularly important to our work, and we do a lot of historic stuff. So I think, we hope that we can have a joint meeting in the future, maybe June or something. Chris, you think? I mean, it's probably going to be a little bit, and my suggestion was going to be that you host us.
Yeah.
We can show up, and we can I'll come in person. I actually have a couple of ideas of how, things that the historic commission might be interested in doing. And, Chris hosts in-person meetings, but with a Zoom option. So folks can either come in person, and we can all, sit there in the room and kind of have a good discussion about it, or you can Zoom in. But yeah, that was kind of it. I didn't, Chris, did you wanna add to that? Did that kind of
Yeah,
sum up the?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The only question I have about Nick's Nest, if I do have a quorum,
Yep.
what is it a yearly deadline with our applications, or would this be
No,
considered a rolling
it's,
application?
it is. Yeah, we're not really, we take it up once a year just because it's an easier process, but we're not bound to do so. We could roll it into the summer if we had to.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think, obviously we'd like to move forward on it, but I know you're doing everything you can to get that going, and it is what it is. There's only so many volunteers in the city. So, um, I think ideally it'd be best to be done sooner, but I don't think we're facing like a dire time pressure here with there's no clock ticking on it. So, and I did actually, I was telling Michael before the meeting, I just coincidentally went to Nick's Nest this afternoon to get ice cream with my daughters, and I filled Jen Shatnoff in on where we are, and she was very understanding, and she knows where things stand. So, yeah. So Chris, if you would want to just let us know, maybe if you could keep me posted on how your committee's doing,
Yes.
and let us know when, what date might work. I can let the committee know, and, you guys can host us, and we'll come in person and have a good, healthy conversation about, how to maximize, the historical commission's, skills. Any questions or comments on that? All right. Moving on through. All right. So one thing we just wanted to mention is, and this is on the agenda really because we just want folks to be ready for it next meeting. We're going to talk about the website. Naomi's been working on some stuff with the website, and what we're calling the migration of the information that we have on our current website over to the city website. And we're not making any decisions yet, but there's a few reasons for that. Number one, the city website's free, whereas the one we have now, we need to pay. And we just felt like it's more accessible. And then there's also some compliance issues as well. So Naomi's going to kind of present the details of that next meeting. And I think, Naomi, we talked about today that you're going to send that information to the committee ahead of time so they can sort of digest it before the meeting, and then we'll have a talk about it. But
I would just add to what you're saying, Jay, that the coalition strongly recommends that CPAs don't have a separate website.
I'm on my meeting.
And all the details there'll be a fact sheet essentially, just listing the issues, the pros and cons and all of that to help inform the discussion and the decision. The other thing you should know ahead of time is that we talked about this actually last summer and it didn't go over, but the pressure is even stronger this year because of the compliance issues. And last summer, Jeffrey told me, and this summer's the same, that his best time to help us with the migration is July, when the city council doesn't meet. So that would be the time frame that we're looking at.
And when she says Jeffrey, she means Jeff Anderson Burgos, who's the administrative assistant to the city council.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
who's sort of like one of our technical support staff. So
Correct.
he's been super helpful for us for certain things. But yeah, it's just, it's sort of a nuts and bolts thing for the committee, but there's some reasons why we think we should do it, and we'll present that information ahead of time and then discuss it at the next meeting. Michael.
Guys, just as a point of history, the reason we established a separate website back in the day is I don't think there was a City of Holyoke website. There wasn't anything. And we had to get the word out. We're just a brand new group of people coming together from a mandate from the citizens. And that's why that's why we voted to have one. It wasn't that we wanted to compete with the city. The city didn't have one. I don't think anybody, well, very few people had one. So we took it upon ourselves to have people actually donated their expensive time to help us out and set it up for no cost. So you can't beat that. So that's the history of why we have our own, as opposed to maybe other cities and towns that later on had their own setup with the city. That's how we got our own, because when we first started, there wasn't any.
Yep. All right. If there's any more questions or comments, we can wrap this meeting up. I appreciate everybody's time and patience. Mary.
What is the date of the meeting with the joint meeting with the historic?
We won't have that yet because historic does not have a full roster yet. So we need to wait until they're full. Then Chris will reach out and say, we're ready to roll, and then we'll pick a date.
Okay.
So, I know that our next CPA meeting will be the first Wednesday in May. I'm not sure what the date is. It would be the 6th.
May 6th. Yep.
Yep. So the 6th. And that would be for contract discussions, and perhaps in June or July, we'll have that joint meeting.
And contract discussions, and then also the website migration.
The website, among other things, but those will be two of the big ones. So I also hope to give a good financial update as well, which things are just not to get, I don't want to violate open meeting law, but we're in good shape. So, and I'll be able to lay that out. So, but I appreciate it. It was a very productive meeting. I think we have some really, really good projects. I think, we only had 6, but they're really awesome projects. We use the word iconic several times, and I think it was fitting every single time. So I appreciate everybody's good work and patience throughout this process. And we'll be in touch. Naomi's done a great job. Let me just give a little credit to Naomi. She's very supportive and she just does so much behind the scenes. I don't know if I think people get a sense of it, but I just want to make sure that I'm saying that out loud. And in that same realm of discussion, she's prepared all of these all the information that the city council will need to consider our recommendations, and we'll be able to get those over to them this week. So that we've made our recommendations tonight. Naomi's got all the legwork done. We're going to get it to city council by the end of this week, and they'll be able to act on it, in their time. But they won't be waiting on us to do so. So we'll be able to move the ball forward on that. So thank you, Naomi. All right, everybody, enjoy your evening. I don't know how long we took on this meeting. An hour, 20 minutes, not bad. Take care.
Okay,
Appreciate
guys,
everybody.
take care.